I didn't argue when they said, healing trip. That was the word my mother chose, carefully placed like something fragile. As if questioning it would make me cruel. The date had been set for months. Venue booked. Deposits paid. Invitations already drifting through other people's homes, turning into expectations I couldn't quietly retract. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't inconsiderate. It was simply mine. My sister's plan came later. Sedona, retreat, energy work. Phrases that sounded important in a way I couldn't quite challenge without sounding dismissive. And I knew better than to challenge anything that had already been emotionally endorsed by my parents. It's just a date, my mother said, not looking at me directly. These things can move. What she meant was you can move. I remember my father more clearly. Not because he raised his voice. He didn't, but because he sounded certain. Maybe marriage will teach you you're not the center of the family. It landed with more precision than anger would have. I thought briefly about explaining. About laying out the logistics, the contracts. The quiet weight of rearranging everything. But that wasn't really the conversation we were having. So I didn't explain. I'm not rescheduling, I said. No one responded immediately. The silence didn't feel shocked. It felt resolved. As if something had been confirmed. They didn't threaten. They didn't plead. They just stepped back. And in that space, the consequence formed on its own. They wouldn't come. On the day of the wedding, I noticed the chairs first. Two of them, slightly off-center in the second row. Reserved without being labeled. Empty without being acknowledged. People avoided looking at them directly. Or maybe that was just me projecting. I didn't feel abandoned in the dramatic sense people expect. There was no sudden collapse, no urgent grief. It was quieter than that. A steady awareness that something had been withdrawn, and that I was still standing anyway. The ceremony began on time. Music, steps, small adjustments of fabric. The usual choreography. My partner squeezed my hand once we separated to take our places. No one mentioned my parents. Which was its own kind of kindness. Walking down the aisle, I expected to feel something sharper. A break, maybe. A moment where absence would override everything else. But it didn't. What I felt instead was alignment. Not happiness, not exactly. Just the absence of negotiation. For once, I wasn't adjusting myself mid-step. I wasn't scanning the room for approval. I wasn't waiting to see if I was doing it right. I just walked. And when I reached the end, when I stood there and faced someone who had shown up without conditions, something inside me settled into place. Not healed, just clarified. After, people said the usual things. That it was beautiful. That it felt intimate. That there was something grounding about it. No one mentioned what was missing. The photographer moved quietly through the evening, capturing moments I didn't think about at the time. Lauter hands. Small glances exchanged without performance. At some point, he asked for a few still shots. Just the two of us. I remember standing there, slightly tired. Dress heavier than it had been in the morning. My partner's hand resting at my back, not guiding, just present. Don't overthink it. The photographer said. I didn't. I just stood as I was. The photo was sent a week later. I didn't do anything with it at first. It lived in my inbox. Unopened longer than it should have. Not out of avoidance, just lack of urgency. Eventually I clicked. It wasn't perfect. My hair wasn't entirely in place. My smile wasn't wide or cinematic. There was a softness to it, but also something else, something steadier. I looked like someone who had made a decision and stayed inside it. I forwarded it without a message. To my parents. They responded the next day. Not with words at first. My phone rang. I let it ring out, then a message. My mother asking if we could talk. My father, separately, just sending. We saw the photo. I didn't respond immediately. Not out of punishment. Just no longer out of reflex. When we finally spoke, it wasn't structured. No apologies neatly delivered. No explanations that resolved everything. But my mother cried, not loudly, not dramatically. The kind of crying that interrupts speech, that forces pauses where certainty used to be. My father didn't say much, but his voice, when it came through, lacked the confidence it had carried before. It looked. He started, then stopped. I waited. He finished. That word stayed with me. Not because it fixed anything, but because it named something they hadn't expected. They thought their absence would shape the day. Instead, it had revealed it. We didn't resolve everything in that call. There was no agreement about the past. No sudden understanding of boundaries. But something shifted, not in them, entirely. In me, I stopped measuring moments by whether they were included. I stopped preparing for absence as if it needed to be managed. The photo still exists. Framed now but not prominently. It isn't a statement piece. It's just there, a record of a day that didn't bend. And didn't break either.